Yeah, I know that some of you have already been around to hear me talk about this. I streamed a little bit just after the tournament finished, but I want to talk a little bit right now about WCS Austin. Want to give some closing thoughts on the event and its outcome, I suppose. First things first, some of the like the coolest thing to me about these offline events is when like new cool things happen. So Game Time was on Dank Shrine last night, and Fear Dragon published an interview with Game Time that I definitely encourage you all to check out. And Game Time coming up and coming out first in his group and making it as far as he did in the tournament is one of those things where it's like, wow, this is really cool. This is an esports thing that's super cool, because it's kind of, well, I won't say that it's rare for new people to kind of rise up in StarCraft, but it's always really exciting when somebody does. So watching Game Time go through his groups and then do like the after he won your first Thermal, he did the little interview with Zombie Grub, seeing all the interviews with like Dank Shrine and Fear Dragon, and he's just this super cool dude. He's just like, he's the kind of guy that you would just like grab a beer with and just chat, you know? Like he just seems like super laid back, really nice guy, really motivated, got a lot of drive in him. And last night they were saying a little bit, there might be some plans to send him to WCS John Coping, maybe to Montreal possibly. Like, I mean, I guess we'll see what happens there with all those things. Sloth seems to be a good, cool organization that gets in there and helps support the players, which is just amazing in this day and age. It's good to have North American orgs supporting North American players like that. Fantastic stuff. And I hope that Sloth can roll their player success into like additional sponsorship and, you know, just keep that ball rolling. That'd be great. So yeah, Game Time was a real standout. Jacob in the chat says, also thank you for in. I like my hat too. Jacob in the chat says, Kellizer was a big story. Kellizer has been somebody who's kind of been sort of, I think he's been on the rise for like the past 3 years. There's never really seemed to be a point where Kellizer has been totally down and out and like not a name to watch, because I've always expected something great from Kellizer. Thank you, Daunted, for the follow and for reminding me to open up Muxy, as is tradition. Muxy.io. Kellizer is always somebody that I've pegged to do great things at some point in his career, and I think we're starting to see that now. That run was really great from him. Overcoming Snoot like that was fantastic. That's exactly... Ooh, it's good. It's real nice, right? It's real nice. Yeah, what was it? And then Major, too. Major, or Special, going as deep as he did in this tournament was very unexpected. Even taking as many games off of Neeb as he did is like, that's a big accolade, you know? He did well. And it speaks too to the success of the base trade house in Korea. I think some people kind of have a little bit of a misconception with the house. It's not necessarily like a team house so much as it is a place for players to go and practice in Korea with low ping, with the best in the world, you know, on that ladder. So, you know, like great stuff. With the new storylines that are established. Cyril also really didn't do as well as I certainly didn't expect him to go out as soon as he did. I expected him to be one of the players in the round of 4. So you have all these storylines, and this is why it's so important to have regular big events as often as possible. You get to keep those storylines running. And I just remembered another topic that I'd almost forgotten. Nicely thrown in there. Good job, Cyan. I feel like the overall level of play at DreamHack was insane. Like, every game was good. I would agree. I can't offhand, like, maybe this is a little bit of, like, memory bias or something, you know, like, after it's all said and done. I can't really think of a game that I watched that was, like, super not worth watching. I can't think of any. I didn't watch all of the games. It's actually impossible. There's no way. It's, like, 13 hours of games every day. I found it super surprising that Showtime didn't win the thing. I found it surprising that he fell to Neeb. I found it surprising that Neeb won. And I found it really surprising that Showtime went to Game 5 versus Namshar. I'm not sure what was up there. It's just not what you'd expect from Showtime. Showtime's like the dude in the scene right now, right? He's the one to beat in everybody's mind. Everybody thought, at least, right? And then even in the finals, Nerdshow versus Neeb, I thought that Nerdshow would take that. But I'm glad that he didn't actually, because winning on home turf, Neeb winning an American championship, well, the American championship this year, I suppose, that's a big deal. That's really good for the scene overall. It just creates that extra little, maybe there's another news article. Maybe wherever Neeb is from, I don't know where Neeb is from, but maybe his local newspaper has a story about him. Maybe the local news network has a story about him. It's just like that exposure for StarCraft 2 in particular. Not esports, but StarCraft 2. It really does help, right? And having the run back from last year where he fell to Hydra, it's cool. It's really nice. It's good to see Neeb succeed on home turf in front of the American crowd. I did think that perhaps the crowd was like a little lackluster compared to last year. Last year, it was less crowd space, I think. They had the bleachers set up. But a lot of the times it seemed like the crowd in Austin wasn't very packed in there. It was pretty sparse, if anything. And I heard some people say that the StarCraft tournament was like off to the side sort of situation. Like it wasn't in the thick of things like the other tournaments necessarily maybe. But I think that's more because of the level of production that was at the StarCraft stage. With the booths and everything, like if you're running Street Fighter, like the Street Fighter stuff was probably in the dead center of everything, but that only takes a couple of TVs and some chairs, whereas the StarCraft stuff, it's this big production with these big booths and the caster profile, desk. So I think that's probably part of it more than like, oh, DreamHack doesn't care or anything. Like I don't really think that, but it was a little surprising to me to see so few people in the seats, I guess, compared to what I maybe expected it to be. But then maybe I shouldn't be that surprised because it was April, the very end of April, like basically 5 months into the year before our first circuit event. So I don't know. Realistically, talking about the frequency of circuit events is too far gone at this point because from here on out it's a little better. Not quite what you'd want, I think. Not quite as regular as I would prefer, but it's more regular, so it is what it is. Jacob says Neeb is from New York. Okay, well, New York probably didn't have New York media probably didn't have a big focus piece on Neeb, I guess. But still, you never know. It just helps word get out there, right? Like the American Neeb held up the American pride in Austin, Texas this weekend for StarCraft. I don't know. I feel like that kind of thing is really good for the casual viewer base, the casual fan base, if the word gets out there in the right way. Probably last point on Austin. I loved Base Trade's coverage in Austin. I know that they weren't paid for it. I know they just kind of did it. I love that vibe where you have people casting at a LAN and they're just kind of there. Like it's not super, super high production where they're in the sound booth and everything and they're at like a caster table. Like they're in the thick of the event, right? Like you got all these pictures of people just walking past where they were casting and just grabbing a photo like, hey, there's Rifkin Zombie Grub, snap, or like, oh, look, it's F, snap, like that kind of thing. And the style of casting that Base Trade TV has really fits in with that, I think. It's more like that laid-back kind of thing. It's more casual. It's still super top tier, but it just fits with the theme of being really in the thick of things, and it's just like an FGC event, right? So I encourage everybody to check out some FGC casting at some point. There's a tournament starting tomorrow, I think. It's like the Texas Showdown, the Texas Throwdown or something like that. Just check it out. It's a really unique style of casting compared to the rest of esports that they have, and I love it. I think it's super cool. It's really laid back in comparison in just how they speak, It's in the thick, it's in the meat of the crowd usually. Like it just has this kind of intimacy that I don't find other esports have. And it's cool to see that in StarCraft 2. And Base Trade TV have always really kind of brought that in StarCraft 2, but it's awesome to see them bring it at a LAN. So that was really cool. I really loved that. And I think that's it for Austin.